A peroxide blonde figure in wrestling, changing companies and hoping that people still like him as much as he thinks people do, although there's a nagging thought in the back of his mind that people absolutely don't. That gimmick will never work. Anyway, completely unrelated to that last statement, Cody Rhodes has left AEW, the company that he helped to create, the first viable competition to WWE in decades, and it's all but certain that not only will he be returning to the heaven from which he fell, but he's also going to be in a major program at WrestleMania. Life is weird, huh? Regardless of all the backstage rumors that are tying us all in knots and whatever the Young Bucks put in their Twitter bio, Cody has done some phenomenal work in AEW, haters be damned. As we embark on the roads to WrestleMania, Ollie insists I credit him for that joke, let's mark one chapter of the American Nightmare's career closing, but running down some of Cody's greatest AEW memories, because shut up you mean people, there are loads. Cody loads. I'm Adam, hailing from partsFUNknown, and here are our top 10 Cody Rhodes moments from AEW. Number 10, 10 Lashes. Cody Rhodes' rivalry with MJF was one of the most engaging stories told during the early days of Dynamite, with Maxwell Jacob Friedman executing the first great heel turn of the promotion's history and crowning himself King Turd in the Punch Bowl. To get MJF to fight him, Cody had to accept MJF's terms, a trial of Hercules-style gauntlet, one of which was to receive 10 lashes from MJF himself. The segment is actually difficult to watch, seeing Cody's back being covered in welts as MJF and Wardlow really take their time and draw these 10 lashes out. Heels unrelated to the rivalry came out on stage just to watch Cody suffer, while the Young Bucks told him he didn't have to do this. One of the last times Cody would ever interact with the Elite on camera, and the whole thing has a very Tommy Dreamer, Sandman, ECW vibe to it. The pretty babyface taking these shots but standing triumphantly after the heel is given his best. Talk about a stark contrast to the Revival shaving each other's backs in the shower over on the other channel. Number 9, Cody Rhodes versus Wardlow. Sticking with the MJF feud, another of the American Nightmares trials saw him step inside a steel cage with Wardlow, MJF's giant man pet. The first cage match in AEW history and Wardlow's first match in the company. Again, a lot could go wrong, but Cody led the way through a simple yet effective match. After years of WWE's fairly crap escape the cage rules, this match went back to NWA style basics, locking the hero in a cage with a monster and forcing him to take a big risk to slay the beast. And what a risk at that. Cody scales this impossibly tall cage and hits a moonsault that probably should have cost him his knees, if not worse, taking out Wardlow and winning the match covered in blood. Cody standing on top of the cage, crimson masked, with finally nothing standing between him and MJF is an unironically heroic moment. Sure is a shame MJF beat him and Cody just sort of forgot about the whole thing, but hey ho, look at the moonsault again. Number 8, Cody crossbody Shaq. Feels surreal to try and remember that at the peak of pandemic wrestling, Cody Rhodes wrestled Papa John's Papa John, Shaquille O'Neal, on AEW Dynamite. Man, Big Show must have been just a saddest panda watching this, checking his phone and seeing his repeated requests for a Shaq match being left on red. After months of trash talk between Rhodes, Shaq, Brandy, Red Velvet, and Jade Cargill, Cody and Red Velvet finally took on Shaq and Jade on the 3rd of March episode of Dynamite 2021. The match was absolutely incredible. A good thing, since this was Jade's first match and Shaq was more well known for stuffed crust and athleticism at this point in his career, but this ended up being one of the best celebrity wrestling matches ever, capped off by Cody crossbodying Shaq off the apron through a table as Jade got the win. I mean, who amongst you has gone to put Shaquille O'Neal through a table? Not me. Maybe Pete though. I think Pete has. Number 7, the flaming table. That just f***ing sucks, huh, Cody? The poor lad would jump off anything or through anything if it meant the fans would cheer him just once. And you people wouldn't even give him that. To be fair, the neck tattoo is bad. On the December 1st, 2021 episode of Dynamite, Cody wrestled Andrade El Idolo in an Atlanta street fight. All things considered, this was a very fun match, but then, oh no, what are you doing, Brandy? That's not how you set a table. Cody hit an inverted suplex through a flaming table of all things, and Andrade goes through precisely dick of that table, Cody taking the full bump. Most of the time, flaming table fire puts itself out pretty quickly. It's a board covered in lighter fluid, so the fluid should burn off quite quickly. Not this time, though. Cody lands and lies in a pile of flaming rubble, burning, literally burning, as he pins Andrade with his tights still on fire. It may not have gotten him cheered in the long term, but gotta put some respect on the lad at least. Number 6, Cody puts over new talent. It is hard to try and narrow this down to just one moment, but it is worth pointing out that while a portion of the AEW fanbase became perhaps a little too obsessed with comparing Cody Rhodes to Triple H, you're not really helping your case with that golden shovel though, Cody. I don't really care that it's a meme. However, while many accuse Cody of burying new talent, more often than not, the opposite was true. Sure, Cody got many wins in AEW, but there are few who did the job to make someone else a star as many times like Cody did in AEW, whether it be MJF at Revolution 2020, Brody Lee in Just Minutes and one of the biggest shockers in Dynamite history, Darby Allin at Full Gear 2021, Malachi Black also in Just Minutes, or Sammy Guevara in that ladder match that we'll get to. Cody leaves behind a roster of guys who have benefited from beating him, mostly because he beat so many people. It's like that's how wrestling works, really. Number 5, the TNT Open Challenge. Boy, I do love a good open challenge. Single-handedly turned John Cena's career around. I don't care who agrees. Good matches with built-in stakes and an ongoing story of the champion getting worn down with each title defense only to finally be overcome when they run out of gas. Who could say no? Cody Rhodes was your inaugural TNT champion, and if we're honest, beating the relatively new Lance Archer could be seen as the start of his descent in the fans' eyes. But then he started putting it on the line every week. He started with Jungle Boy and proceeded to have really fun matches with Mark Quinn, Jake Hager, Ricky Starks, Sonny Kiss, Eddie Kingston, Warhorse, Scorpio Sky, before finally losing in a legendary squash match against Brody Lee. The Open Challenge didn't just benefit Cody either, with Starks and Kingston both earning contracts from their performances against the grandson of a plumber. Number 4, the Dog Collar match. This match holds a bittersweet place in many fans' hearts, as this would end up being the final match of the great Brody Lee's career. But did he ever make the most of this one? In response to Brody capturing the TNT title from Cody, Cody returned weeks later with black hair, looking an awful lot like Robbie Rotten from Lazy Town, challenging Brody to a dog collar match for the title on the October 7th, 2020 episode of Dynamite. The match has the kind of old school southern violence that AEW often really well mixes in with their high-speed technical wrestling, lucha libre, and Japanese strong style. This was an old-fashioned fight with both men chained together, bleeding together, and it was brilliant. Of all of Cody's title wins in AEW, this one was by far the best match, and it holds an incredible amount of emotional weight and significance in hindsight. Number 3, undesirable to undeniable. While Cody Rhodes cut one or two great promos in WWE, the They Made My Father Dance one being especially good, AEW is where he truly came into his own on the stick. He cut a number of great promos during his time in AEW, but the best has to be his go-home promo for Full Gear 2019, setting up his AEW World Championship match with Chris Jericho. Cody would announce that if he lost, he would never again challenge for the title, a stipulation that may have handcuffed him narratively later on, but for the time, these were big stakes, the kind that really sold AEW's early pay-per-views. He throws shade at Jericho, saying you could buy his book for $3 on Amazon, but the real emotion comes when Cody says this match isn't about his dad, it isn't about the dead, it's about the living. It's about his mother, his sister, his wife, and the 14 years it took for him to go from undesirable to ungoddamn deniable. Cody occasionally cuts some weird, rambling promos in the house he helped build, but this promo encapsulated everything about him that made him the face of the revolution at the time. Number 2, Cody Rhodes versus Sammy Guevara. Holy shit. What a ladder match though. Cody Rhodes may have lost that babyface shine he had early in his AEW run, but there is no denying that he elevated his in-ring ability greatly during his time in the promotion, perfectly illustrated by what will come to be known as his final match under the AEW flag. For now. For his swan song, Cody put on one of the best ladder matches ever with Sammy Guevara to determine the undisputed TNT champion. Singles ladder matches are very difficult to pull off because the time spent selling usually needs to be cut dramatically to ensure the match doesn't grind to a halt. It's easier with multiple people because you can just lay there after taking the best cutter off a ladder spot ever. Genuinely, this spot almost out TLC 2's TLC 2. Cody and Sammy destroyed themselves for our entertainment, sending Cody packing with an official 5-star classic. And number 1, Cody solves racism. Not really. Number 1, Cody versus Dustin. And talk about blood-soaked Southern wrestling. For years, the Rhodes brothers wanted to wrestle a match at WrestleMania, and every other Royal Rumble they would tease it only for the plug to be pulled. Hell, we got a bullshit finish that singles match between Goldust and Stardust at Fastlane, and they still dropped the whole thing before WrestleMania. Rude. On AEW's first pay-per-view, Cody and Dustin finally got to wrestle a match they had always wanted to, putting on a 5-star classic no less on AEW's first show, honoring their father in a match that still ranks highly amongst the best in AEW history. Blood was spilled. A lot of blood was spilled, but many tears were shed, not only from the men in the ring, but from many of the people in the crowd who chanted Dusty as the son of a plumber's 2 sons stole the show on one of the biggest nights in wrestling history. And that's our list. What's your favorite Cody Rhodes moment from AEW? You do have one. You do. Let us know in the comments. If you like this list, why not share it around the internet? Make sure you like and subscribe to partsFUNknown for more silly wrestling content, and never forget to jam that jam.